Hi, and welcome back to That's Entertainment, the weekly entertainment show where we look at all the interesting news from last week. This week, there's been some very positive news out of the US box office last week. Number one movie was Mortal Kombat, and Warner Brothers' latest live-action take on the video game classic. Some of you may remember the first Mortal Kombat film, which was not very good. This looks way better, so I'll be looking forward to checking that out, along with Monkey Punch's Lizard with my kid when the cinemas do eventually reopen. It took a respectable $22.5 million, which is all the more impressive as gamers were able to watch the film at home on HBO Max as well. Warner Brothers released the first 7 minutes of the film in advance online, and that was a successful way of engaging their younger male audience. The number two movie in box office, and this was the record-breaking anime Demon Slayer. The Japanese movie took $21 million at the box office, giving it the biggest ever opening of a foreign language title in the US. An incredible achievement at a time when audience capacities are greatly restricted and only 55% of cinemas are open. Well, let's just hark back to the fact that the average occupancy for your average cinema, sort of in the US or in Europe, is around about 30%, if I remember correctly anyway. And Nordisk Biograph, the Danish chain, released a study into Celluloid Junkie that showed that with their seating restrictions imposed under COVID, the actual impact on ticket sales wasn't that bad. So I'm not surprised these films done well. The audience is desperate to see something. They're also desperate to get out of the house. More good news from the US. The exhibition industry is coming together for a week-long promo event designed to encourage moviegoers to return. Cinema Week will run from the 22nd to the 27th of June, and according to The Hollywood Reporter, thousands of cinemas across the country will showcase exclusive content, offer exclusive merchandise, and arrange for special guests, including filmmakers and talent. With regards to the small screen, Netflix revealed some very interesting numbers last week. The world's largest streaming service missed its Q1 target of reaching 210 million subscribers, coming in 2 million people short. In a letter to the shareholders, Netflix said, "We believe paid membership growth slowed due to the big COVID-19 pull forward in 2020 and the lighter content slate in the first half of this year due to COVID-19 production delays." However, the streamer remains confident about the year overall. "We continue to anticipate a strong second half with the return of new seasons of some of our biggest hits and an exciting film lineup." Perhaps more importantly, the company did beat its target, with earnings per share at $3.75, well ahead of Wall Street's analysts' expectations. It isn't surprising to hear then that Netflix confirmed plans to spend $17 billion, yes, $17 billion on content in 2021, roughly on par with last year, according to the report and Deadline. Analysts expect the total to reach $26 billion by 2026. That's annually. That's an incredible budget. Netflix also boasted of some of the key viewing figures for the US, showing off a wide range of its subscriber base. The last installment of the YA trilogy, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, had 51 million viewers. Jennifer Garner's family comedy Yes Day was watched by 62 million viewers. Anthony Mackie's sci-fi actioneer Outside the Wire had an audience of 66 million. And Who Killed Sarah became the most popular foreign language series to date with an impressive 55 million viewers. Well, that's interesting that Netflix is beginning to release these numbers. And I think that's increasing pressure from the different groups like the European Union and various producers' unions to follow up on what Netflix actually released at Berlinale, which they said would be around providing more detail in terms of how these films and titles are performing. The growing importance of foreign language product was highlighted with other successes in the US, including the Spanish movie Below Zero, the Korean production Space Sweepers, and the Polish rom-com Squared Love. According to Netflix, our priority for local language titles is to have a big impact in the home territory so we don't sacrifice local impact for travelability, that's a new word, but we're increasingly seeing that these local titles find significant audiences around the world, which supports our thesis that great stories are universal and they can come from anywhere and be loved everywhere. This is the major point about production. It's now global. The genie's out of the bottle. We have platforms that facilitate translation and subtitling. It's going to be wonderful for producers out there. I think this is very, very encouraging signs across the industry. And we think we are facing a truer democracy or democratic approach to the release of content. And we're seeing, rising talents from countries that we barely made an impact on the American movie scene. Although they're very much still playing catch-up, it was also good Q1 for HBO Max, who gained 2.7 million subscribers. That gives HBO Max and HBO a total of 44.2 million US customers, with many pundits putting this success down in part to the availability of the Warner Brothers theatrical releases for 2021, currently on the streaming platform. But it wasn't all good news. According to Deloitte Digital Media Trends Survey, today's younger generation are nowhere near as keen on films and TV shows as their forebearers. The next wave of disruption may lie with Generation Z, who prefers to play video games, stream music, and engage on social media rather than just watch TV or movies. To put the worrying quote into context, 14 to 24-year-olds' favourite pastimes are playing video games, that's at 26%, listening to music at 14%, browsing the internet at 12%, engaging on social platforms 11%, and in fifth place, watching TV and movies at home at 10%. It doesn't really surprise me about what Gen Z's viewing habits are being orientated towards. I think one of the unsung heroes of the streaming wars is really YouTube. I think they're going to dominate over the next 10 years, and there's nothing really that can come close. And I think it's because YouTube is a better platform in which your content viewing habits can be developed. So if I look at myself, I follow about 10 creators online. I follow those guys avidly. I listen to pretty much every update that they put out there. And as a result, I'm finding myself drifting away from the streaming platforms because I don't want to risk being disappointed. I know if I follow these 10 guys, even their bad content is still familiar to me and reassuring and enjoyable to watch. And it's the same jokes and same habits that I'm partaking on. So I really think one of the key things here is if you look at browsing the internet, which is 12% of these guys' behavior, I wonder how much of that is actually YouTube. I think that would be very interesting to investigate. It's a worrying topic that was the core of the latest US webinar we put together with our friends at OSU this week. Use today's tech to reach tomorrow's moviegoers, and we'll highlight some of the key takeaways from the event in our next show. And finally, here's the weekly roundup of some of the key production deals announced by the streamers recently. First up, Netflix. Netflix will produce reality series The Hype House about a group of digital influencers in LA that have more than 120 million TikTok followers. They are also developing a docuseries focusing on Bubba Williams, NASCAR, the only black full-time driver. They've recruited Dakota Johnson to star in the modern-day take on Jane Austen's Persuasion, and have ordered an animated fantasy series, Wings of Fire, from Sundance Award-winning director Ava DuVernay. Meanwhile, Paramount Plus will soon start broadcasting From the Cradle to the Stage, a 6-part series about the Foo Fighters' David Grohl and his mother. And Apple have ordered Now and Then, a Miami-based drama with a Hispanic cast that will be shot in both Spanish and English. That's all for this week. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe in the comment section below. Remember, we publish both to YouTube and to LinkedIn for this show. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll be back to you with some more great news about our webinar. Remember, use today's tech to reach tomorrow's moviegoers, which will be, I think, in the afternoon time, LA Pacific Coast time, if I remember correctly. But we'll put a link in to the description as well, so you'll have that. Thanks and goodbye.